Hey, hey. So, have you been wondering why sometimes, in spite of doing everything right, it still doesn't work? You're following the formulas, you're taking the steps, you're doing massive action, you're doing everything that you've been taught to grow your business, to get clients, to manifest abundance, yet for some reason, it's not working. So I'm super excited to be here with you today because I'm going to talk about the things that are bubbling underneath the surface that when we're aware of them, we can use them to create and accomplish the goals that we have in our business. So I'm, again, so thrilled to be here and share this energetic piece that so many entrepreneurs, so many coaches completely neglect. And when you understand these 7 stages of manifestation, you'll be able to effortlessly move through whatever stage you're in, knowing and trusting that you are on the path to truly manifesting your desires. Because it's in this space that sometimes, if we don't know which stage we're in, we actually block ourselves from moving forward. So I'm thrilled to be here with all of you. I'm going to invite you to pay close attention to what I'm sharing today, because not only does it apply to your business, it also applies to your relationships, to your health, to anything that you're wanting and that you're desiring but haven't brought into fruition. I'm going to dive right in because this is such an important topic. And again, this is one that you're going to want to come back to over and over again, because whenever things are coming up for you in your business, if you can just take a look, this is a cycle. So I want you to imagine it's circular, these 7 stages. You can literally take a look and uncover exactly which stage you're in. And when you're aware of which stage you're in, you can know exactly how to move through it and what you're really being called to do in the moment based on which stage you are in. So let's dive in. So this is the other thing too, I just want to share. And again, I think this is where intuitiveness and listening to our own inner voices comes into play. So I've been so called to learn about the hero's journey. And it's something I've been hearing about from Joseph Campbell for years in the personal development space, but I've never really dove into it, or I wasn't called to dive into it. But over the last couple of weeks, I've been super, super interested in the hero's journey. I was preparing for this training this week. And again, I kept feeling called more and more. And I started to see themes and similarities between the manifestation cycle that I'm sharing with you today, as well as the hero's journey. So I've been able to pull little pieces of the hero's journey in as well. Okay, so we're going to talk about this manifestation cycle. And those of you that are familiar with the hero's journey, you'll be able to see certain aspects of it, but there's just a unique twist on it. So let's start with phase 1. So phase 1 is getting crystal clear about your vision. So this is where we start to feel this little niggly feeling in our heart, or maybe in our gut, or maybe in our mind, or we start getting flash insights of a new vision, a new place that we're being called to. Now, the hero's journey calls it the call for change, or the call for adventure. I've always referred to this phase as just the desire for a new vision, the desire to leave aspects of our life the way that they are and up-level them in some way. So we feel a pull, we feel a desire to do things differently. And as I'm sharing these different stages, I want you to be open to what life situations pop into your head so that you can really identify these stages and how they show up for you. Because the power in what I'm teaching today also is that there's so much wisdom and so many clues that each of you experience uniquely based on which stage you're in. So I'll share the clues that tell me which stage I'm experiencing around manifestation. And then I want you to be open to identifying, as you look back on patterns of your life and different aspects of these stages, think about how you can know which stage you're in at which moment and in which area of your life as well. So this vision call for change is this wanting to escape out of our ordinary lives, feeling ready for an up level, having an inkling that things are a-changing and that there's something new brewing. All of this is a clue that we're called back into our heart to uncover the next vision that we have for any area of our life. So for me, I recognize this stage actually through my dream time. I don't always remember my dreams, but I have a recurring dream every single time I'm called into a new space. And that recurring dream is always around a natural disaster. And so if I ever have a dream of tidal waves, of tornadoes, of blizzards, of earthquakes, I know that's my higher self communicating to me that I'm on the edge of something new, that things are going to be changing and transforming drastically, and really that I'm at the start of a new manifestation cycle. So interestingly enough, the timing of this training is that this is where I'm at right now. Actually, 2 weeks ago, I had multiple recurring dreams of natural disasters. And so I knew, okay, and what's wild is we're not always ready for that call. I'm like, but wait, everything's going great. Why would I change it? But clearly my higher self has another agenda. And this is the deeper energetics that are at play in our businesses. So it's like that call for change, that desire for something new, that desire for an up level. Now, with this comes the being put in the position of making the choice to pursue it. So making the choice to pursue it. So while we're exploring this new vision, some common feelings that come up are fear, because the status quo and our ordinary life is comfortable and it's known to us. And it's working for us many times. Sometimes the call for change, sometimes the new vision comes from being hit upside the head with a 2x4 and things falling apart. Other times it's a more inner thing. So it's getting clear that it's not always completely obvious. Sometimes it's a little light. Sometimes it comes like in full force. Sometimes it comes with great loss. Sometimes it comes with change happening that we didn't want to have happen. But ultimately, it's a call for something different. So fear can come in because we're going into uncharted territory. We don't know what it's going to look like. We're terrified. It's like our human nature to protect ourselves from the unknown. And so while we feel this fear, we also can at times feel a sense of excitement. So you experience varying degrees of the fear and the excitement when this vision is revealing itself. This is also where a little bit further along the path, and this is the hero's journey part coming in, where you get some guidance. It can be from your higher wisdom. It can be through some synchronicity that you overhear a conversation. That's a clue that you really are called to say yes, to choose to go on this journey, to choose to go in a new direction. It can be getting insights from somebody close to you. It can be in the work that you're doing with a coach or a mentor. I rely on my coaches and mentors a lot when I know I'm coming into big change, to just get insight, get guidance, continue to sustain a place of trust as I'm stepping into something new. And it's this place where we're coming into a place of insight that leads us to the next phase. Okay, so here's the second phase. After you make the choice and after you start getting that guidance and you start to feel like, okay, I can do this. I'm going to go ahead and pursue this path. I'm going to go ahead and start making this change. I want to move forward with it. After the choice is made, then, and after we have some belief and willingness to move forward, then we're moving into the second phase, which this is coming from The Alchemist. Who's read The Alchemist? Say yes. Oh my gosh, love The Alchemist. If you haven't read it, I don't usually read books more than once, but The Alchemist is one of those that the wisdom constantly seeps through every single time I read it. So this kind of comes from The Alchemist, called beginner's luck. So beginner's luck is that after you start taking action on the choice that you're making for change, you actually start to experience some success in it. And you start to feel confident about it. And it seems like it's happening pretty easily, and you're just moving along. You come across opportunities, you come across allies, you come across people supporting you, come across, like you start wondering, like, why didn't I make this change sooner? It's so easy. And you're getting that validation that you're on the right path. So it's like it feels light and it feels exciting. So now the excitement's starting to overcome the fear a little bit more, the fear of the unknown. And we have some quick wins with beginner's luck. So we start to get really comfortable with this new direction that we're taking. And this level whets our appetite for success. And many people, when they start having this beginner's luck, they're like, awesome, I've arrived. Yes, I've made it. I've created my destination. I have manifested what I wanted and moved in that direction. But here's the thing, is it's actually called beginner's luck because it's only a small taste of the manifestation. It's not the fullness and the wholeness and the juiciness of what you're really manifesting. It's simply a taste. And the reason why we have the taste is because it's created, this is my belief. I believe the reason we have the taste, and I believe the reason we have beginner's luck is because what happens next is and can be so challenging that it gives us something to hold on to and to sustain as we go into the real work of manifestation. It gives us something to just allow us to trust in the times when trust feels the hardest, allow us to surrender when times are the hardest to surrender. It gives us just some little anchor for when this next phase happens for us to hold on to. That gives us a little glimmer of hope that we're still on the right path, even though this next phase makes us feel like we are definitely not on the right path. So that leads then to phase 3, which is in The Alchemist called the Victor's Test. In some of the other training that I've had and some of my own experiences called the law of opposites. So we know there's universal law. We're talking about the law of manifestation right now. We're talking about that like energy attracts like energy, that thoughts, that what we think about, we're attracting it in. And so there's another law that's not talked about very often, and it's called the law of opposites. And the law of opposites is the stage of manifestation where the ish hits the fan, where it seems like everything falls apart. It's where contrast is provided. So the purpose of law of opposites is to provide contrast. Because if what we're craving is, say, financial abundance, what the law of opposites does is it comes in and creates scarcity. Because how can we really know abundance from a financial standpoint if we haven't first experienced lack? How can we know light if we don't know dark? So the law of opposites, when it feels like you're trying to accomplish something or trying to get something or trying to receive something and it doesn't come and the opposite happens, rather than it being a clue that you're on the wrong path, what it actually means is that you're getting provided the contrast for the manifestation, which means the manifestation is right around the corner. However, this is where fear can come in really strong. And as we attach to the fear and the judgment and the questioning and the doubts and the wanting to go back to the way things were, we're holding on to the law of opposites longer. This is where so many people end up stopping the manifestation cycle and staying for a long time, meaning the stuff just keeps coming. And we keep recreating the law of opposites over and over again because the belief, the misstep in the beliefs around the law of opposites is that the law of opposites is telling us our reality of what is, when the truth is that it's simply presenting the experience before the manifestation. It's not the reality. It serves a very important purpose. And the minute that we see it for what it is, and I know a lot of my clients, we talk about this, we're like, where it's like, oh, the law of opposites is happening. Get excited because what comes after the law of opposites? After the law of opposites comes the breakthrough. After the law of opposites comes the thing that you've been wanting. So get excited. So rather than feeling defeated and broken down and lost and confused and wondering why you ever chose this path, get excited. The law of opposites is the clue, is the thing that has to happen to provide the contrast before you get the thing that you really want. We stay in the law of opposites when we question it. The law of opposites is where we hit our terror barrier, where we get scared. And in fact, many times the law of opposites shows up also as a back door. What I mean by that is when I chose to no longer work with teens, which was a huge decision for me, my entire career had been built on serving at-risk youth, that as soon as I said, I'm going in a different direction and totally pivoting, I had 3 or 4 opportunities cross my path to work with teens. It was like a test. And it gave me a back door that said, you sure you want to keep going in this direction that's unknown and scary and that you feel inadequate and incapable of really going in? Or do you just want to go back to this comfortable space? And if I were to go back to that comfortable space, which because I know about the law of opposites and I know that the opposite also shows up and gives me a back door, it's really a call for trust. It's a call for trust, trusting the pull, the vision, the heart, the co-creation process that led you on the journey to begin with. I always view it as it's literally a test. It's stretching your trust. The law of opposites really is preparing us to become who we have to be in order to manifest the thing that we want. So it's preparing us we can't attract that which we aren't. There are people, I'm going to use money as an example again. There are people, many people who are generating millions upon millions of dollars in their coaching and expert business. The only difference between who they are and who you are, if you're not, if your business isn't at that level, is who they've become through the process that's put them in alignment with actually manifesting that level of success. So the law of opposites is solely there for us to figure out what aspects of ourselves are no longer in alignment with who we have to come into alignment with the thing that we desire. So what needs to be released, surrendered, let go of, and what aspects of ourself, of our higher self, are ready to be amplified and stepped into so that we can actually align with the desire. The things that we want to manifest, health, wealth, relationships, clients, business, whatever it is, the things that we want to manifest are as close as our breath. They're as close as our breath. And the only thing that we have to do is come into alignment with the same frequency of what it is that we want to manifest. And how do we come into alignment with the same frequency? The law of opposite in the Victor's test challenges us to up-level our consciousness, to lean into trust, surrender, letting go, detachment, curiosity, excitement, anticipation. And it's those feelings that raise the vibration to bring it into alignment with the thing that we're desiring. So there's the law of opposites. So the other way that this comes up, who's heard of the Big Leap? Who's heard of the Big Leap? Yes, Big Leap, fantastic book, talks about upper limiting. So we also know and can identify. I identify when I'm in law of opposites in a few different ways. One, yes, the ish hits the fan. And two, I create drama in other areas of my life. So for example, if my marriage is on the brink of an up level, if my husband and I are connecting on a soul level that's beyond where we've connected in before, I may create drama in my business because I feel uncomfortable with ultimately stepping into a new space that maybe I wasn't comfortable with before. Same thing, when my business is on the brink of an up level, when I'm stepping into a new space, when I'm becoming a different version of myself, closer to who I really am in my profession and in my self-expression, I'll create drama in my relationship just to keep it in check. So that's upper limiting. We create drama in other places because we feel uncomfortable with this. We're shifting our set point. We're shifting our set point, and that set point feels uncomfortable. So we create drama to bring our set point back to a place of comfortability. So that's what else happens in the law of opposites. So my question to you is, what needs to change? Who do you need to become in order to manifest the thing that you want? Who will you be once you're there? And how can you be that person before you receive it? There's some coaching questions built in here that you could really journal on. What needs to be let go of to create room for the new things that are coming in? Because we can't have frequencies in our lives and our businesses that aren't aligned. So when we're making the choice to step into the next set point in any area of our life, it means that the things that aren't at that set point may have to go away. So for me, again, too, every single time I'm stepping into an up level, what I'm called for is what boundaries, what stronger boundaries am I called to set? What are the boundaries that I need to set in order to create the space to step into this next piece, to step into this manifestation? Because, and that's where else stuff comes up, right? The idea, the fear of losing relationships because they're no longer in alignment. The fear of losing clients, the fear of losing things that used to be a fit, but no longer fit, can keep us in law of opposites and prevent us from receiving what it is that we think we want. And really what it all boils down to is a decision and a choice. In this case, because of how energy works, we can't have our cake and eat it too. It's going to come. In order to make room, we have to release something. We can't have multiple frequencies playing in our energy, right? This is a big one. This is where this is where we block ourselves. I bet the majority of people I see living a good chunk of their time in this law of opposites stage, because we can't get to the next vision. We can't go anywhere when we're stuck in law of opposites. Okay, so let me check in. Yes, come back and watch this for sure. Oh, the drama makes so much sense, doesn't it, Charlotte? Oh my gosh. I always know when I'm like, my husband is being the sweetest, most caring guy, and all of a sudden I'm nitpicking everything he does. And it's like, why am I creating so much drama It just makes no sense. He's doing nothing wrong, and I project all this stuff on him because of my fear of the up level that I'm stepping into. Makes sense, right? Oh, good, Heather. Yes. So as soon as we take responsibility for our drama, and again, this is so much power in this simple little phrase, because it instantaneously shifts us to open up to the next phase, which is the manifestation, as I've been alluding to, is that the second we have the awareness that we're in law of opposites, oh, of course I'm creating drama, I'm up leveling. Oh, of course all these bills are coming out of the blue and my furnace broke down. I'm on the brink of a financial windfall where money's flooding in. Of course, all of this stuff is coming up because I'm right on the brink of something really freaking amazing. You can feel already that we release then the judgment and the stories that we have around the law of opposites when we understand and know what it really is, what the victor's test really is. And so in the hero's journey, again, that I told you guys, I'm like so just eating up right now. This would be the ordeal phase. This would be the test. This would be where they're fighting the enemies. This is where they're having to go inward, where there's a dark, depressive state. All of those pieces are law of opposites. So yes, totally, Irina. So those of you that are connected to IPEC, level 1 and level 2 energy, but they don't have to be, because the second we move into acceptance of the law of opposites, as opposed to being fed into it, it's not level 1 and 2. We can experience it. We can be with it without judgment. We can experience the fear. We can experience the stories. We can experience all of them and also accept them at the exact same time as just a part of the process. So when I talk about growing your business with ease, flow, and grace, it doesn't mean that the shit doesn't hit the fan. It doesn't mean that things don't get messy. It doesn't mean that everything's unicorns and rainbows. What it means is how you view those aspects is different. So rather than it flatlining you, or rather than it killing your mojo, it just simply is a part of the full experience. So that's the reality. So when we talk about being in flow, we can be in flow in the middle of the stuff. And the more and more quickly we step into the acceptance of it, the more quickly we step into seeing it for what it really is, the more quickly this cycle continues to go. But it only goes to the manifestation when we truly become who we need to be in order to be in alignment with the thing we're trying to manifest. So we can't manifest a 6-figure or even a high 5-figure or a 7-figure business if our energetic resonancy is at low 4 figures. It just can't happen. And the law of opposites is the space that teaches us who we are meant to become, how we are meant to shift in order to come into alignment with that thing we're wanting to desire. Think about it in relationships, right? We can't attract a certain type of person if our resonancy is at a different level of person. Okay, so I think you guys are ready to move on to the manifestation phase, but I want to keep you here for a little bit because seriously, as uncomfortable as it is to sit here and think about where you're in the law of opposites, how the law of opposites shows up for you over and over again, I hope that it's triggering some stuff, because this is where the magic happens, is in the law of opposites. This is where all of the work happens. This is where all the growth happens. This is where you become more connected to who you really are, is in the stuff, not in the manifestation. The manifestation comes as a result of becoming who you are in the stuff. Okay, this leads to phase 4, which is the breakthrough manifestation. So that said, there's some things that I know happen in the law of opposites and who we are called to become, all of us, no matter what we're wanting to manifest, that bring us into alignment with manifesting and shifting our set point to a whole nother level. And so you guys want to know what you're really called to learn to really be able to experience the manifestation, because it's so counterintuitive. You could let you all continue to be on your own journey, but I'm going to give you a few hints because there's a lot that you're going to uncover on your own as well through your own journey. But there's some things I know for sure. I'm going to pull an Oprah here. There are things I know for sure about manifestation, and that we cannot manifest until or unless we embody these things. So the first thing is my D and B formula for manifestation. There's only two components in order to manifest our desires. And it's desire to know what we want and full-blown belief that it is as close as our breath. So the law of opposites is our test in our belief. So desire plus belief. So when I say belief, desire is easy. And then I've talked about the dark side of desire too, where we desire at such a deep level, we're holding onto it so tightly that we're actually in lack, that we wouldn't desire it unless we were already in lack. So there's a sweet spot for desire. Desire is easy because we know what we want, so long as we don't become too attached. So this is where we're holding our desires loosely. We're not holding them tightly and clenching onto them, believing that they're going to be the magic bullet for our life. We're holding our desires loosely. The belief piece is the belief and knowing that what you desire is as good as done. So you've probably heard this before. If you've studied manifestation at all, we hear a lot about acting as if. It is actually not acting at all. It is knowing as if. It is good as done. It is that you made the decision to have this desire, and there's not a question in your mind that it already is. And so when we talk about acting as if, we're talking about knowing and then taking action from that place of knowing. So let me ask you this. If you desire to have a full client load, whatever that is for you, 5 clients, 10 clients, 20 clients, how would you be approaching your business differently in your marketing and sales activities if your client load was already full? So now we're taking action from the place that we already are where we want to be. So there's a tiny nuance in there. How would you be approaching? So this stuff is a perfect example, right? So those of you that have been in this group for a little while, you see me in here, I'm teaching and I'm training. And I started doing that before I had a full client load. I actually took about a year off on my business and I started from scratch in August. So I had a super successful business working with entrepreneurs. Before that, I had a successful business working with teenagers. And I took a full year off as I capitalized on additional opportunities where I wasn't running my business at all. So I started from scratch in August. And how I was showing up in August with maybe 3 clients as I was restarting my business is no different than how I'm showing up today with 35 clients. So that's what I mean when I'm saying acting as if, is that you show up the same way, whether your business is jam-packed full. And really, this is the sweet spot. You're showing up in service and self-expression and creativity. So it's a knowing and acting as if. And that's where there's this new wave of conscious marketing and sales happening. Not very much, but it's what I'm on a mission to teach. And it's that, wow, when we step into the energetics that we're talking about today, it's a magic carpet ride when we have this knowing. And so for me in August, I made a decision to generate 6 figures in 90 days. And I knew without a question of a doubt that was going to happen. And as a result, that plus happened, right? So that's what I mean by acting as if. Okay, so one of the key skills that we're talking about to actually receive the manifestation is to not even desire or need the manifestation. So this is what I call the realization and the knowing that you are whole and complete, regardless of what happens around your desire. That's how else we hold the desire loosely, is we have this knowing that we are whole and complete, that nothing getting all these new clients can do would add to my life because I'm whole and complete, and not having it can't take it away from my life because I'm whole and complete. We get into the space of what I call the power of neutrality. So it's not that we don't have desires, we're holding them loosely, and we're also recognizing that when we are whole and complete, and when we are in the knowingness of our wholeness and completeness, we can be totally detached. And also know that and this is what's really wild, is that, again, let's say if you generate $100,000 in 90 days or whatever it was, that there's really not like a rip-roaring excitement around it. It's neutral. So this is the power of the higher levels of consciousness, meaning there's no hierarchy. So generating 6 figures in 90 days is no different than seeing a beautiful sunset. That's neutrality. There's no hierarchy. And it's in that neutrality of being whole and complete, regardless of what happens, in that space of detachment, that we're opening up the space for the miracles and the unlimited possibilities to come. So one of the things I said on another training is stop wanting clients, because your desire and want for clients means that you feel like something is missing from yourself if you don't have them. So what are the stories we're telling ourselves when we don't have the things that we want to manifest, right? Love this. Okay, so this question, Candace, how do you balance that when you want 100K but you're not attached? So again, I love this question because it's stretching me a little bit because I'm trying to reverse engineer some of this stuff. And so one of the things that I did that led me to that place of neutrality is I got really, well, first of all, if we're projecting into the future or thinking about our past experiences, we're not tapped into our full power. You guys all know the power of presence, power of the moment, the power of now. So what I did before gearing my business back up and knowing I wanted to do it in a different way than I'd ever done it before was, I remember this so clearly. I was sitting in my office, a different office than this office, because when it's summertime, my house is full of kids. So I have a she shed office. I was sitting in my she shed. I was all by myself. It was the summer, so my whole family was home. And I just sat in there and I realized, what else could I possibly need? And I got into this deep place of gratitude and appreciation. Really deep, like deeper than I probably have ever experienced. Like I get the whole attitude of gratitude and being grateful, but this was like, no, I felt it in my bones that I had everything. In that moment, I had everything. And that the next moment I had everything. And the next moment I had everything. And the only times I didn't feel like I had everything was when I was projecting into the future about what I wanted. So first I had the desire and I had the belief and the knowing that it was as good as done. So if it's as good as done and I've washed my hands of it, my only next step was just to be in the appreciation and the gratitude of the moment. And also in that space, then I was intuitively guided to steps that led me along the path. I still showed up, I still took action, but it was action from the co-creation process as opposed to, I'm going to take this action because if I take this action, it's going to lead to this result. And I want to get to this 100K in 90 days. And so it's like these tiny subtle nuances in our energy. It's wild. But yeah, so there's your blending of knowing of wholeness and completeness, pure appreciation and gratitude for exactly what is. And I remember going through that phase when I left my first job, when I left the safety and security of my job too. I remember thinking, what is the worst thing that would happen is we'd end up on the streets. I just let myself go to the worst case scenarios over and over again. And then I was just like, and I would still have, and even if that happened, I would still have love. I'd still have connection. I'd still have peace. I'd still have, like, when I realized I'd have everything that I really wanted, that I thought creating the business would give me, then I was detached from the business. The business wasn't going to add anything that I didn't already have. And it allows me, and it allows all of us to then show up in our truth. And I always say the fullest expression of ourselves, because people like me, that's okay. People don't like me, that's okay. It's because there's nothing anybody, any accolades or anything can add to what I don't already have. So I'm not seeking validation. I'm not seeking. And as a result of all that detachment, your presence becomes magnetic and becomes captivating, not because you want to be, it just is. Okay, so this is the manifestation. So first of all, who do we need to come? Surrendering, trusting, gratitude and appreciation. I want you to even feel into the difference between gratitude and appreciation. They feel different. I want you to feel into that right now. Think about feeling grateful and think about feeling appreciative. Which one feels like it's got just a little shift or a little edge when it comes to the frequency? Meaning one's just vibrating just slightly slower than the other. Which one feels like it's just a teeny tiny bit higher level of consciousness or higher frequency that then aligns with manifestation? Gratitude versus appreciation. Feel into it. I got chills. Interesting. Again, we never know which perspective we're coming from because we hear so much about having an attitude of gratitude. So in my experience, appreciation feels just like it's got a little bit of an edge, because appreciation to me is seeing something on a deeper level whereas gratitude might be more experiential. So everybody's experiencing a little bit different. And again, then what meaning are we attaching to the words? Because the words don't mean anything. So I'm asking you to play with the energy, because the words don't mean anything. Nothing means anything until we give it meaning. So it's get yourself centered and just play with that, because this is what I mean about the subtleties of energy. And as we shift into the subtleties of surrendering and letting go, we can tell ourselves conceptually and we can understand things conceptually. But where's the catching point for some of us to really surrender, let it go, and trust? But yeah, so keep playing with that. I just wanted to bring that experience in, because everybody's going to experience it differently, because you're experiencing it through your own perspective and lens. But feel the little tiny nuances between things that are very similar. That's telling you're going to attract a different level of manifestation based on those nuances in your energy. Okay. Breakthrough manifestation. Yes. So this is where the dawn breaks. You see the light. You're detached. And again, there's presence in the moment and that wholeness and completion. So as you're experiencing the breakthrough manifestation, which we spent a lot of time talking about, you're in the co-creation process now. And again, because you're so detached, and because there's this knowing, and because there's this wholeness and completeness, it expands. And so it literally starts to feel like it just keeps coming and flooding in and overflowing. So after we start to experience that breakthrough manifestation, what we find from there is that we can get into the flow. I guess I like this word. I put it in all caps, the flow. So the flow is that feeling of abundance, and it's sustainable, it's consistent. It's that feeling of neutrality and peace in any given moment. It's pure presence. It's losing track of that time and space. And to me, this is where it does feel like you're on a magic carpet ride, and it just keeps getting better and better. And it just keeps coming, and it feels so easy, and the opportunities are flooding in, and the people and the synchronicities and the connections. And it's just powerful space. You've all been there. And as we keep going through these manifestation cycles, it's knowing and appreciating where we are and how it's serving us. And that leads to mastery. After we've shifted into the place where we've come into alignment with the desire that we have, and we've been riding the magic carpet for a while, we've officially mastered that level of consciousness, mastered that set point of manifestation. And so this mastery piece is where you became who you were meant to become in order to align with that which you desired. So you mastered that aspect of yourself. After you've been in the flow, you know that is who you are now. You can't go back. You won't go back. You've officially shifted that set point and that level of consciousness, so that anything that's in alignment with that level of who you are and who you became to manifest that also is in alignment with all of the other things that are on that same set point: relationships, health, money, clients, business, all of it. So it might feel like we're in the clear after we've experienced the breakthrough and the flow and the mastery. Is such a beautiful space. And here's the thing: what might come up after this flow and this mastery that we've experienced in shifting this set point? So stage 7 is the ebb. I call it the ebb. So you got your flow, now you got your ebb. You had your high tide, now it's the low tide, and sometimes even feels like you're sliding backwards. It feels like the law of opposites again, but here's the difference. It's not the law of opposites, it's the ebb. So this is where it feels like things stop out of the blue, where things that were working no longer work. Things that used to come easy all of a sudden get hard. So it can feel similar to the Victor's test, but the difference is, again, where you're at in the cycle. Where you're at in the cycle makes all the difference. So it's a little bit lighter than the Victor's test, generally speaking, not always. But this is where, in my experience, more physical things happen. It's easier for me. It's less in my kind of spiritual realm and more in like the actual physical realm. So this is where like busloads of clients will leave all at once. It's still synchronistic. So that's the other thing too. That's the other difference about this versus the Victor's test, is to me, it feels synchronistic, because it's like, how is the same thing happening in multiple areas? So I moved through this. So a couple of weeks ago, I felt the call. I'm still working on the next vision, which is the next you guys are already picking up on, it all starts over again. But for me, this ebb just happened this week, and a few different themes keep coming up. I'm having multiple people project their stuff on me. And so this is happening in all areas of my life. I'm just like a human projection thing. I'm having a lot of judgments passed in it. I'm having clients change their mind and want to leave. And it's all clearing the space for whatever's coming up next. So it can feel like things are sliding backwards. So other ways that this can show up, other ways this has showed up for me in the past is like I used to run really strong Facebook ad funnels. All of a sudden the funnel stops working. It's like it always worked and it stops working. Or it can be, I remember when I transitioned out of coaching teens and into coaching professionals and entrepreneurs, it was a policy change in the organization where it was like, this no longer feels in alignment. This policy change changes everything. I can't ride this magic carpet ride with this policy change. Something has to change again. So it's things like that tell you're in the ebb, where it's like you feel like you're cruising right along and all of a sudden the brakes get on and it's, whoa, what just happened? The brakes just came out of nowhere. And you feel like you're just stopped in your tracks. And no matter how much you want to go forward, you're just stopped. So you start to question things. You start to wonder, okay, why is this happening? What's different now than what was happening before? You feel yourself reflecting, questioning things. You're also realizing that your old vision, your old manifestation starts feeling like status quo. So for me, I know I'm in ebb when I start getting bored. So if I start getting bored, if I start feeling like, this just isn't exciting as it used to be, there's something missing. So especially those of you that are creatives, when you start feeling bored, you might be in the ebb phase. And again, it feels different. What it feels different for me is there's less doubt and less fear and more just, I guess it's more curiosity. It's almost like you're coming down instead of you're already down and feel like you're spiraling into the depths of despair. You're up and you're just coming down a little bit. So it's not even a crash and burn necessarily. It's because you still feel like, yeah, but that was so amazing where I've been going and what I've been. So like for me, this came, okay, so I agree, so much synchronicity, a deeper desire to release, change. Yes, we're just wondering what the heck happened? What's going on here? This doesn't even make any sense. What used to work didn't work. So it's interesting because everybody experiences these a little bit different, which is why I wanted to just share so you could start tapping into how you experience each of these. So what's interesting about the ebb is it's like a confusing state of not sure what's next, but what's different about the ebb too is you have now this whole experience. Oh, this is what I was going to share with you guys. So I actually made a declaration 2 weeks ago because I know this cycle so well. This is pretty personal and vulnerable, but I made a declaration because I knew I had my dreams. I knew that change was coming, that change was imminent. And that a lot of times with change, just like a natural disaster, can be a lot of upheaval, especially in the Victor's test. And so I made a declaration, and this is what I feel is the ebb. I was preparing for the ebb way before it came. I pretty much looked in the mirror and actually, maybe I wasn't even in Victor's test. Maybe I was in the ebb, but I said, because I was in this like magic carpet ride. But my declaration during an ebb is essentially, this is pretty much exactly what I said. God, universe, whatever you speak to. I said, God, these last 7 months have been nothing short of amazing. And I know that a big change is coming. You've made that very clear. And with that change, I also know in the past, I haven't always been very good at listening. And that's created a lot of pain and suffering for me. So what I'm asking for you this time around is to please go easy on me. And here's my commitment to you. What you tell me, I'll listen. So I'll listen this time, but also make it very clear so I don't have to question it. So it's like I was making this agreement. And then I said, and this is a deeper intention, knowing the power of intention. I said, and here's what else I know for sure, that while this change may feel challenging at times, what I know for sure is that on the other side of this, with how amazed I am at what we've co-created over these last 7 months, I know that I can't even fathom the goodness, the amazingness, and the extent of what we are brewing this next round. So I just declared that, and I felt it was like almost covering so much of the manifestation cycle just in the declaration. Okay, I'm going to have the law of opposites. I'm going to have beginner's luck. This is going to happen. But here's how I want it to happen this time, instead of how it just happens to me all the other times. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because it was super, super empowering. And you can declare how you want to go through this stuff. And you can ask for what you need because you're so supported, guided, and loved in such huge ways. Thank you, Marilyn. I know it too. And this is, so let me just say this. I know it too. So I'm not saying whatever happens next, we'll see. I'm saying, I know it is good as done. That what has already happened in the last 7 months is going to be tenfold this next go around. And you can feel it in my energy, excitement, anticipation, a knowing, trusting the process. That's the manifestation sweet spot. Goosebumps. Awesome. Yes. Thanks, Amy. Oh, and then also Amy, my beautiful fellow intender, right? So when you know it, so Marilyn and Amy and all of you are like beautiful and you're like feeling this energy and you're seeing and believing it for me. What we know about the power of intention, we're doing this in our Power of 8 groups. What we know about the power of intention is that as you're seeing it for me, as I'm sharing it with you, you're simultaneously seeing it for yourself. And that also is where your power is. So I just feel honored that I just shared that and you're all experiencing it with me, because as you're experiencing it with me and for me, you're experiencing it for yourself even more so. That's awesome. Okay, Erica, how do you go from saying you believe to truly believing? What's the switch? And this is the energy piece. Such a brilliant question, because there's how many of you just know conceptually things, yet you haven't been able to fully embody it or embrace it or really just feel it in every single cell of your body. Because that's what happens so frequently, is we can know and understand it conceptually. But ultimately, the biggest shift, I believe that the two words that always come up over and over again are, and they're directly connected, is trust and surrender. When we trust, actually, and it's when we believe. So the shift for believing for me is knowing that, and this is your own relationship with your higher power, is knowing, is just knowing, not just saying it, but knowing that everything happens for my highest good. And so even when this stuff has been happening these last couple of weeks, knowing that this change is imminent, having clients change their mind and no longer want to be, for different various reasons, a part of what we were creating, it's always for everybody's highest good. So while that stuff's been coming up, I just know. And what I see happen then on the backside, when I just know and trust, I see the manifestation. So there's many manifestation cycles too, I'm just realizing. So again, this week, 2 clients have chosen to go on a different path. And I'm honoring the path that they're choosing to go on, whether it's based on fear or based on their higher selves. And as a result of staying detached and honoring their path, what's shifted for me as a facilitator and also for the groups as a whole has been phenomenal. I feel different. I feel the difference because I know that it's for everybody's highest good. So it's the trust and the knowing and that relationship and that partnership with the higher self. Yeah. You hit it, Stacy. Yep. Surrender and trust, because ultimately we can't detach without it. So we like control. Our human selves, my human self, my ego freaking loves control. I love the knowing. I want to see every step going forward, but this is just something that is constantly we're evolving into. And the deeper we evolve into it, the deeper we evolve into trust, the deeper we allow ourselves to be intuitively guided instead of mentally, logically guided, the more we're embodying believing it as opposed to just conceptually believing it. How do you handle surrendering the timing of manifestation? Good question, Melissa. Oh my gosh, the timing. Yeah, so that's the other piece too, is that the more attached we are to the timing, the more we slow it down. So again, if the manifestation is as close as our breath, if it's literally right around the corner, it's already here. And this is also the believing and the knowing. It's already here. I just haven't aligned with it in a way that I can see it, in a way that I can follow the shortcuts, the guidance. So it's the intuitive guidance and the shortcuts. It's really releasing. Some of the biggest things to release are comparing ourselves to others, self-judgment. The more attached we are to the timing, the more we slow things down. And also the more detached we come from the timing, the quicker the shortcuts reveal themselves through our intuitive guidance. So there's a short path and there's a long path. And the more attached we are to things, the longer the path becomes. And the more detached and trusting and surrendering and letting go, the more open we are to receive the guidance in the moment that's going to give us the shortcut. Yeah. Okay, so thank you everybody for holding this space and being willing to share your own journeys with the 7 stages of manifestation, because they're huge. And my biggest hope and desire that I know is happening is now when the stuff comes up, you have a new way to look at it and a new way to really feel into it, because now you know that when the shit hits the fan, it is exactly in your favor and supporting you to become who you are meant to become in order to align with the thing that you really want. So thank you guys for all of your kind sentiments. And that is it for today. I know that if you ever want to come back to this, if you're ever feeling lost or distraught, or like things aren't moving along, or that you still have so far to go, hopefully the wisdom in this training will pull you back on track so you can trust and know that you are on a divine purpose and path, and you are fully guided and supported and loved along that path. So that's it for today. See you all. Bye.